Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the City Chatter Podcast. I'm John Bernstrom, Public Information Officer for the City of Grand Forks, episode 31 of the City Chatter Podcast, and we talk with City Council President Dana Sande. Dana, thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
I appreciate the Movember look. Good job. Good job.
Early, yeah, I just started growing it yesterday. So
Yeah, good. You joke. I don't shave for 2 days, and I look like Grizzly Adams, and it itches and it drives me nuts.
Sure. Yeah, this is October 10th, so it hasn't quite been a month.
Yeah, looking sharp. Looking sharp.
Yeah, I know. My wife likes it, so
That's
I actually don't particularly. But she does. So
that's half the
whatever.
battle, right?
Yeah, right.
Right? Exactly. Let's get right into it with
Hey, who picked that intro music? We got to jazz that up.
Should I jazz that up?
Yeah,
Okay, that's a me thing.
yeah.
I was given selections, and I'm just like, let's go with that one.
Sure. Okay.
But I'm maybe not the most creative person in the world.
We need a little more. We got to amp it up. See, now I'm like half asleep. We just got. We need to crank it up.
Okay. We will production meeting. We're going to change the music.
Okay.
Sounds good. So let's get into it. It's election day. Just real quick.
It is election day.
Did you get a chance to get out to vote?
I did. I voted. I was a hard no on all the measures except for measure one, of course. I'm just not into having Grand Forks smell like a pot factory like most of the major cities around the country these days. I don't care if other people want to smoke pot and do whatever they do at in their own house, but I totally disagree with it. It's the same people that will absolutely go crazy if you light up a cigarette in front of them, yet they think it's okay to smoke weed.
Sure.
I just don't get it.
And I'll be one who will say this is I was talking with some colleagues in Colorado when theirs passed with an initiated measure, and then they had to chase it with legislation,
Right.
And they're still behind.
Yep.
They're still behind it. If legally they come with a way to legalize it at a legislative level and get all the laws and the systems in place,
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
But to just be like, we'll just give it a shot. I'm not a big guy in that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
Same with the elimination of property taxes. I mean, if the legislature can figure it out, sure, great. I'd love that. I think we'd all love that. But I think trying to put us in the Wild West isn't necessarily a great idea. And also, I mean, it's a fact that a major percentage, I don't remember what I read in the paper, somewhere on the order of 40% of the property taxes collected in North Dakota come from corporations from out of state.
Yeah, not as far as number of properties, but as far as sheer volume of money, because it's large corporation. You go out west, all that oil.
Yeah,
that's not locally owned out there, folks.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I certainly hope that the legislature. I hope this doesn't pass. If it does, whatever, they'll figure it out. But I hope it doesn't. But I also hope the legislature figures it out.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty loud and clear across the entire state that people want property tax relief.
Or they want some sort of change.
Sure.
It's a system change, right?
But, but with that comes the responsibility of the taxing entities. We got to figure it out too. We've got to make sure that just because the state, if they do come through with some sort of property tax relief, we can't be eating it up by raising mills and whatever governments like to do.
Right. Yep. It's a two-way street there.
That's right.
100%. At last night's city council meeting, some exciting. Well, it wasn't announced at the council meeting. It was announced last week, but. Earlier this year, you guys as a council hired a consultant trying to get extra air service here in Grand Forks. Part of that was chasing a federal DOT grant, and we got a grant. We got $1 million grant to pursue more air service.
Yep, and I think we've got it teed up. We did this, I can't remember, was it 2010, 2011? We also got a grant back then. City of Grand Forks stuck maybe $500,000 in.
Sure.
And United came. Do you remember that?
I remember that nonstop to Denver for a short time.
Yeah, United came. Back then, the concept of matching, what do you call it? Like with Delta, you've got you're part of their club, and you have all these different levels. The concept of matching those levels of seniority ridership, it wasn't discussed back then, although they would have done it. We didn't market it well. We didn't tell the people of Grand Forks, the flying public, and even specifically the business travelers, that they should call United and tell them to match your status. Because I think if you do that, then you'll actually get people that'll get on board. also having more of a California influence with some of the major companies in town. They, of course, want to go west. So I do believe that there will be more ridership on that route than there was back when we did this, when I first started on the council. I'm hoping it catches on. I'm also, I hope Allegiant steps back up, because I recognize that the Canadians aren't flying out of here the way they had been.
Sure.
But still, there are a lot of people. For example, I've been talking to the folks at the airport about this. I coincidentally flew out of St. Cloud on Allegiant to Punta Gorda outside of Fort Myers.
Okay.
And everyone there was from North Dakota.
Really?
Everyone on that flight. I saw dozens of people from
that
Grand
you knew.
Forks, from Fargo, from Bismarck, all across North Dakota, that all traveled to St. Cloud.
Interesting.
You can get flights for $350 round trip.
Right.
I mean, it's a great deal, and it's a quick one flight, and you don't have to mess around with. So I'm not a. I have a fair amount of status with Delta because I travel a lot for business, and so I like the convenience of Delta, and because they actually treat me pretty nicely. But for our organization that I work for, we have a flight location right next to the airport at Mesa.
Sure.
Mesa Gateway.
Yep.
And so it's super easy for us to just jump on, and we're right there, and it's 3 hours. Of course, the seat doesn't recline. You don't even get a glass of water. I'm not even sure they have people on the plane that are working.
Right. Except the pilots.
But yeah, but it gets you there, and
gets you there.
And it's pretty easy, and it's definitely affordable. And compared to some of the other options, specifically Delta, it's a quarter of the price, or maybe a third of the price. So. And
kind of the whole goal of this, you add flights, you add competition. Hopefully, knock on wood, it lowers prices. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll start. We're hoping. As much as anything, what we need to do is stop losing the people, the travelers that are going to Fargo, going to Winnipeg, whatever.
What do they call that? Leakage.
Yes, the leakage. 50%. We lose 50% of the travelers from our network go somewhere else, and so that's about convenience and price. Bringing more flights will help with the convenience, and hopefully the competition will get the prices to down.
Yeah, no, but anyway, hey, step in the right direction.
Yeah,
I feel. We'll see how it goes.
I think we got to give the mayor a lot of credit for that. Although Ryan Riesinger and KLJ, they're looking for ways to bring in new airlines like United every year, and it's not like they've been resting on their laurels. But the mayor's concept of throwing a bunch of money at it, I mean, I don't like it because it didn't work last time.
Right.
But he's right, we have to do something.
You have to try.
We can't just sit back and let Fargo take all of our travelers and go from 3 Delta flights to 2 and then none. Right. So I'll give the mayor a lot of credit for pushing this initiative. Yeah,
and again, first step in multiple steps, and let's keep moving.
Right. Yep.
There was also a brief update yesterday. Turf and Aquatics, some staff, some council members. I know you had a conflict. Toured some facilities, taking a look at, frankly, what $1 million gets you type deal.
Yep.
As a council, have you guys talked more about that, or are we still so early in that process that it's hard to nail down, frankly, what you're going to bid for?
Well, the architects are going to final drawings, right? I mean, which doesn't make any sense. Final schematic when we don't actually know what we're doing. I don't understand the process that the engineers and architects are working through right now. I trust that the mayor and Todd and the people in the working group are actually paying attention. I don't feel like I personally need to get in on the nitty gritty of what the building looks like or what size the bathroom should be.
Sure.
Because it doesn't, it doesn't have any effect on me. And ultimately the consultants and the people that we're paying to do those things, I think are the ones that we should be, trusting to put that together. This whole process, the whole process for building these facilities it's a difficult one for me, because in the past I've talked about how I don't like the concept of spending all the money that we're going to raise from the sales tax.
Sure.
But in talking to the mayor and Todd, and I've been spending time talking to Ken Veen, there is something to be said about trying to get the most you can out of what we can and take advantage of today.
Sure, because it won't be cheaper tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly on that bandwagon.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yes, that's true. It won't ever be cheaper, but our revenue source is indexed on inflation.
Sure.
Because it's sales tax, and so sales tax goes up as inflation goes up. So I'm not really worried that it's going to be cost more later because our revenue is much more later as well. But I do get that the sooner you get it done, the more people can benefit from it and enjoy it longer. And and again, this is the mayor's deal. And I'm a bureaucrat. I don't like that idea, right? But I've been around a long time, and the mayor gets hired or gets elected because he's supposed to have the vision, and set the policy. And we're supposed to deal with, well, how do we get it done? I mean, we can spend all our time arguing about whether you like the policy or not. Fact is, he ran for mayor and he won, and people seem to like him, and he's got some fun ideas. And okay, so I'm trying to get on board, right?
Sure.
So I'm not worrying about what the facility necessarily looks like, although I'm concerned that there's too much glass and it's going to be too expensive to do that. So I talk about that, but I'm also. Do we need pickleball courts in it? Yeah, I mean, the pickleball club, they're very loud, and so does it need to be here? Maybe not, but we should try to help them as well, right? So there's all of those things. Ultimately, though, having the people that are going to be operating the facility and getting them together with the engineers and the architects to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck is the most important thing for me. And I trust when Todd says we're doing it and when the mayor says I trust them. And
sure.
So I'm trying not to insert myself because I'm not going to help.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. That with this facility, I shouldn't say I joke. Everyone likes the idea of the facility. Everyone likes people have been talking about indoor turf in Grand Forks for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're getting some indoor turf. Everyone acknowledges, hey, we're about to lose our only competition pool for those involved in swim. So people say that. You get a room full of people. They all want the facility. They all want different things in it. There's not necessarily a consensus. Oh, we landed on this concept. We're good. Right. There's lots of opinions on this one.
Yeah, so that facility I'll say it, I'm sure other people have said it, it will never make money. That facility will operate at a deficit forever, which is why I'm kind of the opinion, again, I haven't been shy about this. I think we should spend a little less money so that we can keep some of the sales tax to help pay for the operations. Good news is the Park District they've stepped up and said that they'll cover the shortfall. Of course, that is also taxpayer dollars. It is, but they have the capability to do that, and so I appreciate that they're willing to do that, and they'll probably take some heat over it. But that, we all take heat over,
Sure.
Anytime we spend a nickel, you're taking heat over it. So I think ultimately by having the Park District heavily involved, engineers, architects, city administration, I think we're going to end up with a pretty good product.
Yeah, I think it's at end of the day, it's going to be a nice place.
And again, by having the Park District, who's going to operate it, there, talking about who the user groups are and those things, it certainly helps to make sure that we're getting the right mix of the options that people in Grand Forks want and that can help cash flow the building. Right.
One other last thing from last night's meeting that I want to talk about. Now, I've worked with the city of over 18 years now. I'm pushing 20. Over 18 years. CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Funds. Yep. You guys got a presentation yesterday. Every once in a while, I just need to sit down and I'm like, okay, I need to reverse myself in getting an understanding of this because it's not something that just naturally comes to me. So funds coming to the city through the federal government through housing and urban development, correct? But there's limitations on what can be spent on that funds and how much we're getting. Did the presentation get that deep yesterday of, all right, here's how much money you're getting, here's what you can spend it on, or is it more conceptual?
No, this was they're working on our 5-year plan. The CDBG.
Sure, okay.
We have to update the 5-year plan. Obviously, every 5 years they've been. Do you know what? Apparently, it takes almost 5 years to do a 5-year plan.
That's
Consultants are so
Yeah.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
So we're stretching this out for the duration. Apparently, we hired them over 2 years ago, and so
we're
they've
just
been-
now getting to concepts of
So they've been working on this. Hey, I don't fault them. I don't know if we put a timeline on it or not. So whatever. It's neither here nor there. Fact of the matter is, because city council, we've been talking about homelessness in our community. We've been talking about Sue Sherrick and what a great job she's doing over at the mission and
trying to fill in some loopholes that she can't cover, or the mission can't cover.
And so they're short money. We've been talking about how we need to somehow get some funding into their hands. Because of that, city administration told the CDBG folks that they're the consultants that we want to concentrate on homelessness in our community with our funds. So they've been doing research, trying to identify, how much, what sort of, like, what is the general picture of homelessness in the city of Grand Forks. So we got a briefing on that last night. Of course, you don't need to be a consultant to, just based upon all of the demographics across the United States. Homelessness is an issue. Disadvantaged people are more often homeless. I mean, the things that they were saying are generally things that most people already know because that's the way it is. Right. So, but the good thing about that is now we have some empirical data that we can use to justify to the feds of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yep.
And I don't know what we're going to do with that information in the near future, but what I do know is the Community Advisory Committee is going to move forward with their process. They know that we're putting an emphasis on homelessness.
Sure.
And so, excuse me, I expect that they will be looking to help fill some of those gaps, both at the mission as well as the United Way has been doing a lot.
Yep.
And I really appreciate what the United Way does for our community with the backpack programs, the food for the kids, for the weekends and those sorts of things, and during the summer months, and again the mission and what they're doing with their box meals that they are giving to families, and it takes a lot of money to deal with that.
Stuff just doesn't happen. Yeah.
Well, and I don't believe, generally speaking, that somebody, if they don't have to, they don't want to stand in line to get food, right?
No.
So I don't think that this is an issue where people are taking advantage, because I just don't think they would do that. And in which case, it tells me that there's been a very large increase in people that are living paycheck to paycheck,
right?
And perhaps aren't making it, that need, right? And so, whether, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, decent human beings will look at that and say, we need to do something about this, right? Because when people need help, they need help.
Right.
So I'm a big supporter again of Sue and the mission that they're doing, and I think the city of Grand Forks needs to step up and help them. Depending upon how CDBG goes, I know they need about $50,000 a year more to meet the meals that they're giving away, and so I will definitely be trying to work with the mayor to make sure that one way or another, if they're not able to fundraise it, the city can be a backstop for that.
Well, and to your point is you get this data, so then you use that data of how to spend the money. So then when the feds say, wait a second, why'd you spend it this way? Well, here's our goal. We went through this whole plan, and we're following that plan. Remember the plan that you approved for us to follow.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's one of those fun things. Not city related. We talked out in the hallway a little bit. You recently had a couple of council meetings where you weren't there because you were in Norway.
I was in Norway.
Can you talk a little bit about what you were helping to facilitate in Norway?
So there's, there are.
This is your day job, by the way, not city council job.
Yeah, there are a couple large contractors that have locations in Grand Forks. They both manufacture airplanes. Both of them are trying to sell those airplanes into Norway, to the Norwegian government. We've been asked to help support one of them Generally, as an example of a training organization, because we've set up training locations around the world, we're just a general example of
Right.
what could happen. So we've been asked to be stood up on a pedestal and say, look at these guys know what they're doing. They're pretty good. So it's kind of fun.
Did you feel it was a productive trip, or hard to tell?
Yeah, I don't know. They're always productive, right?
Right.
Yeah, you learn something new every time I go somewhere. I learn something new. So
No, that's I appreciate that. It's just
yeah,
there's
that's this year. I've been all over the world this year. We're getting back into travel schedule like we did pre-COVID, and so it's been kind of fun.
yeah. That's one for those that don't know. If you're not at a council meeting, you're not sitting in your living room.
Typically not.
You're generally not.
Typically
for,
not.
for those that are aware. Well,
And you don't. This is anecdotally. You don't know this, but it's really fun. Earlier this year, we reached out and visited with the U.S. Air Force, and through negotiations and discussions, we signed the first educational services agreement for training ab initio from scratch Air Force pilots. And so our first class of Air Force cadets started training October 1st in Mesa, Arizona, the first civilian flight school to train Air Force pilots from zero time. And so that's been fun. The Air Force is very excited and happy with what we got going on. And they're subsequently now they've signed agreements with other schools to do so. But Air Education Training Command has been concerned because Mother Air Force hasn't been training pilots fast enough.
not spitting them out enough.
And so they're trying to reach out to the flight schools that they think will do a good job and will, want to be part of the, how do I say, the national defense for our country and look out for our people. So we were really excited to get the opportunity to do that. It's going well, and we have our second class showing up in March, and then another class shows up in September.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah.
okay. No, I'm not. I wasn't in aviation. I'm not a pilot, but in my head, that sounds like a quick turnaround for that's some heavy training.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It's busy and it's fun. It's fun stuff. So we're very proud of that.
That's awesome. Chance, you're right. You could be trained to be a pilot in the Air Force and then fly out of the Grand Forks Air Force Base. That's scenarios there.
It'd be pretty cool. They all of these students are academy grads too, so they're all commissioned officers.
They're all wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Today, as we mentioned, it's election day, and we talked a little bit about that. You said you voted early at the you walked in and walked out, and it took you as long as it does to walk to vote, right? I voted this morning. Took me half an hour. I'm not complaining. That was no problem.
Yeah, we walked into Alaris, the Alaris Center about 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and walked right in and voted and walked right out. It was great. And people were very pleasant, and nobody tried to get me to vote one way or the other.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Except for my wife.
That's okay.
But that's every Monday she tells me.
That's two shots at your wife in this show now. Heads up.
She's smart.
So we openly talk at our house. I have a 15-year-old son who when we talk politics, right? Not even talk politics. Not even just it's on the news. It's timely and stuff like that. My son is excited. He goes, "Hey, the next presidential election, I get to vote."
Yep.
They do programs at school where this class will vote and that who won what. Pick the topic. Do you remember the first election you were able to vote in?
Oh boy, I don't remember the first election I was able to vote in. Would have been 1992.
So that would have been Clinton Bush.
Yeah, that's what it would have been. Yeah, Clinton Bush.
My first one I was able to vote in involved the Bush as well, but it was
Chad.
It was Bush Gore. That was my first election. Was the first time I was able to vote in the presidential election. We didn't know the winner for a month.
Yeah, right.
So yes,
that's a perfect example of how life goes on.
Yeah, we survived.
It doesn't really. It matters to a certain degree, but for the most part, our federal government has the checks and balances of the three branches of government, and they all look out for one another and make sure they don't do completely stupid things. And so, you know, I think we saw that in the paper the other day. Life goes on, and so whatever. My life is not going to change whatsoever after today.
Right. And for those that think it will, just understand how we've gone through elections before. Right. I have some election day little quick facts that I find are interesting. Do you know why election day is the first Tuesday in November at federal level? First
Tuesday after the first Monday.
First Tuesday after the first Monday.
That's
Thank
correct.
you. Yes.
I don't know. I assume it was because of the farmers at some point.
You go back into the 1800s, right? Only men who own land could vote, but the men who own land were also farmers.
Yeah.
So we had to wait for harvest to be done.
Sure.
Also, voting was pretty much you have to go to, you know, the county seat or whatever to vote. There wasn't polling sites all over, so you had to travel a little bit. So let's get this done before the sno flies.
Yep.
So they landed in early November, and it was very strategic of how they landed on that. This is one I didn't realize. I always associated voting age as 18, right? That's
right.
As it used to be 21. And that didn't change until 1971.
Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Interesting. Back then you could drink, but you couldn't vote. Now you can vote, but you can't
drink.
Interesting.
And I think the big one back in the early 70s, we were in the middle of Vietnam.
Oh, sure.
And they were saying, wait a second, I can get drafted, but I can't vote for the president.
Sure.
And so the 1972 election was the first one where 18-year-olds at a federal level could vote for the president. I found that one interesting.
That is interesting.
Because you come across and yes, we've, again, only landowners could vote, and they changed that, and then it's citizens and all this stuff. But the federal age was 21. I was not aware of that. I thought that was, I don't know, the history nerd in me really jumped all over that one.
Right. Good. Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. Anything else for you on this Tuesday there, Dana? The weather's nice. We're picking up leaves. We're wrapping up road construction. We're doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you know, I think the city's actually plugging right along. I think generally speaking, we're minding the budget pretty well. The Alaris Center's doing well. What's his name? Zach Bryan, yeah.
Is he the one? Is that the big one? I'm not a country fan. I'm sorry.
Couldn't tell you. But, you know.
If Foo Fighters are here, I'd be there.
40,000 people
that's crazy.
in 2 nights, right? I mean, that's just amazing. And what Anna, her team have been doing over there is great. And now with the sales tax extension, we've made sure that we can maintain the Alaris Center for years to come. So I think all things considered, I think Grand Forks still is great, and we don't need to make it great again because it is. It's always been.
It's interesting you say that, as I was doing some work in Fargo on Saturday. They're not talking Measure 4. They were talking presidential stuff. No, they're talking about their convention center and the Fargo Dome.
And the Fargo Dome, that's right.
And you talk about how we're able long-term planning, thinking forward, extending it, making it viable years to come. They're chasing it down there.
I think my guess is that the renovations for the dome will pass, but the convention center will not.
I'm very curious. Yeah, they have 3 local sales tax in the city of Fargo on the ballot today.
Yikes! Right?
That I know. We've in the time I've worked here, I think we've done 3 sales tax votes. 2 of them passed, 1 failed, and those were work.
Right. I'm still not convinced that they're not going to have to come back and special assess everybody for the flood protection too.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced
that final check hasn't come in yet.
Out. Right. Exactly. When I hear it around here, we talk about it. We're overtaxed and our special assessments are terrible. Blah blah blah. I can't argue any of it. My property taxes are incredibly high. Whatever. We all pay a lot. Fargo could be in real trouble. Like they actually, between all of their sales taxes, the hospitality tax, and the special assessments that everybody already got hit for their flood protection.
For their diversion project.
Plus, if it keeps coming in over budget, I don't know how they're going to deal with it.
It's something.
It's something.
No,
I certainly wish them luck.
Well, and and again, I do work in Fargo, and it was just interesting. You go there, and we're all middle-aged men and talk politics because that's what we do, right?
Yep.
But their conversation of politics was completely different because of what was going on in their backyard.
Well, everybody, I hope everybody gets out and votes. And again, tomorrow's another day.
I was going to say, we're all going to go to work tomorrow. Kids are going to go to school.
That's right.
My son, who's had his license for all of 6 days now, no, 8 days. Excuse me, 8 days. He's going to drive to school. He's all excited.
My twins voted in their first presidential election today.
Good for them.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
Good for them. Dana, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to come here.
John Paul, for hosting me today.
We got that. All right. Dana Sande, City Council President, Grand Forks City Council, Ward 6 City Council members, thank you for joining us. Episode 31 of the City Chatter Podcast. If you want to catch this episode or any other episode of the City Chatter Podcast, go to grandforksgov.com/podcast. You can see all the past 30 episodes. You can see Dana, I think, 3 or 4 times that has been in there. So, yeah, too many. Sure. So thank you, and thank you for watching today. See ya.